Our speaker is Binta Brown, and she currently works for the University of Texas as a dual career and recruitment consultant. Prior to this, she served as the Director of Career Services at a mid-sized university. In her current role, she provides counsel to clients who exist at the very opposite ends of the workforce spectrum. That is, she works with job seekers and she works with employers. I don't want to take any more of her time. She's going to be talking to you about the gig economy, which to some of us is something that we feel we've been a part of for the last 40 or 50 years, but it's a whole new thing now with millennials, and many times they're choosing to work for the gig economy instead of the standard job, and it could be that that's going to be an opportunity that lots of you would be interested in. So, Binta Brown.
I'm so excited to speak with you all this morning. Thank you so much again, Shannon, for inviting me. Lots of stuff going on in the workforce right now. Again, like Kathy said, the gig economy is not new to a lot of y'all. I mean, this has been around for decades. It used to be called the side hustle, right? And some of y'all may still have the side hustle, but it's turning to something quite different right now. I'm going to refer to my notes because I have a 16-month-old, and this thing called mommy brain is real. If I don't write it down, if I don't have something to refer to, it never happened. I will just have multiple brain farts in front of y'all, okay? So, a little bit more about me. I honestly think that recruitment is the cornerstone of economic development. I truly believe that. I think achieving the desired outcomes for any business ultimately starts and ends with hiring, engaging, and retaining the right people. A lot of my friends have said this to me in the past, and I truly believe that. I think I describe myself as an investor of people and their overall well-being. And for many, I realize that their career is the heartbeat of their existence. If you don't know, I'm a licensed professional counselor with supervision credentials. So, people matter. People are very important to me. And I've been told that I can be a little bit fanatical about concepts such as employee engagement and the overall employee culture and the workplace culture and the overall employee experience. I get excited about branding and training and development, creating diverse and inclusive workforces so people can, thrive and be excited about growing and learning and, being curious in the jobs that you do and finding creative ways and fun ways to do your work that ultimately impacts the company's bottom line, right? But most importantly, I'm a mom to a 16-month-old. She's full of personality and very spirited. And I'm the wife to a very supportive and very patient man in the world, honestly. To live with me and put up with my stuff, give him a trophy or two. Anyways, so what's a gig economy? So by definition, and I'm sure most of y'all half of y'all in here can tell me what a gig economy is. I mean, it's so pretty much by definition, it's contract or long-term or short-term project work, temporary and or freelance work. And now more than ever, we see many professionals are moving away or saying goodbye to the traditional 9-to-5. And they're becoming freelancers more for the diverse experience. It gives them more freedom or more flexibility. A lot of folks say that, they have more control in the projects that they get to work on with the different companies. And overall, freelancers have been reporting greater job satisfaction. Again, this is not old news. The emergence of the gig economy really came like about 10 years ago, a decade ago. Remember when we had the housing market crisis, when we had the stock market crisis, huge numbers of unemployment. I think it was like double digits. A lot of people were scattered. They had to just take jobs wherever they could find it, and multiple jobs that turned eventually into permanent jobs. So this thing called the side hustle kind of became the gig economy. And it's not a fad, it's not going away. A lot of employers are seeing that they now have to be really quick and on their feet and start redesigning their talent acquisition strategies in order to stay competitive. So I will share some more numbers with you in a minute. So Wi-Fi, and that means what's in it for you, because I know that as a therapist in my past life, I still maintain my license, but for work purposes and to stay sharp. But whenever you have an audience or whenever somebody's speaking to you one-on-one, at the end of the day, they're thinking, okay, what's in this for me, really? It may sound selfish, but it's the truth. So before we dive deeper into this conversation, I kind of want to get a feel for some of y'all, like when you got the email saying this woman called Binta Brown is going to be speaking about the economy, what did you have in mind? And beyond, yeah, you know what, this is my Friday morning gig, this is what I do. I had no interest in the topic. This is where I be on a Friday, you know. Some of y'all who actually read the topic, what appealed to you? What do you hope to get out from this conversation that we have today? Throw me a bone. This is the interactive part of it. Yeah.
So how some people make freelancing viable and sustainable, as opposed to something you do year after year after year, and you never get to the sustainable part.
Right. And you know what? Sustainable, that definition may be very relative. Sustainable to you may look very differently to somebody sitting next to you.
Or to me and my wife.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, anybody else? Can I get two more? Yeah.
I'm just curious how someone in a gig economy can handle benefits which are just so extremely expensive, even if you're with a corporation, let alone if you're self-employed.
Yeah, that's a very valid question. One more, yeah.
Big picture question from 30,000 feet. I've heard that the growth rate in the United States, GDP, as they call it, gross domestic product, how much money we produce in goods and services, is like 1.2%. So we have a very, very flat economy, not producing much in jobs concerned. How are even gig freelance jobs going to exist in a no-growth economy? I mean, it's almost flat. I mean, that's according to Steve Ratner, who's for the Treasury Department. I mean, 1.2% growth rate in this country. That's a joke.
I think things are moving at such a fast pace with the workforce being reshaped by so many different moving parts. A lot of people are struggling to get ahead of it. I think it's happening as we speak, and people and companies and the government, everybody's trying to figure it out. Lots and lots of moving parts, and it's moving rapidly. But, you know, by show of hands, how many of y'all, and I'll tell you, you know, this is how this presentation came to be. How many of y'all have you revised your resume, you've become a networking fiend, you've created an active LinkedIn profile, you've practiced your interview skills, you've applied for hundreds of jobs to no avail? Does that, yeah. So a couple of months ago, I was working with two clients in particular who recently relocated to Austin. Most of my clients on one side of my job relocate to Austin because their spouse or their partner is deemed high caliber faculty at UT. So it's important that my clients have employment opportunities in Austin in order for you to retain their partner. And they did all the right things, you know, and as a career coach, that's what I encourage my clients to do. And we kept, and I say we because I'm equally invested in their process and their success, we kept hitting a wall, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I don't understand, you know, why aren't we getting more success in securing employment? Because these people are seasoned professionals. They have many years of experience, like most of you all in here. And so I started to do some research, and I started to read blogs and articles and webinars, and I just kind of fell upon a treasure trove of information. And it was just like going down that rabbit hole. Luckily, I had a friend and a flashlight to just kind of pull me back in, because I got so excited, and I was like, this information is critical for job seekers because they need to know what their landscape is in order to navigate it successfully. And again, it's happening as we speak, and nobody knows what it's going to look like in 5 years or 3 years. But it's important as a job seeker or somebody who's currently employed, because you never know what your next job is going to look like or what your employment status might be in the next week. It's so important for you to know what your marketplace looks like in order for you to get ahead and stay ahead. So, how familiar does this look to some of y'all? Yeah, you've all seen this before. I think it's important for us to, in order to understand the future of work, it's important for us to kind of look at what the past has been, and this is really the past, honestly, and I truly believe that. So you go to high school, you go to college, or maybe vocational school, because I think that's a huge market as well. College isn't for everybody. You may have your first job or maybe your second job, and then you end up retiring in that second job after 25, 35 years, and you get this nice pen. I mean, you're retired. I don't know what you're going to do with a nice pen, but whatever. Or maybe a watch. Who knows? You're retired. You don't need to know the time. But, I mean, for some of you, and this may seem morbid, either you die or retire. It depends on which one comes first. And that is what the work of the past has typically looked like, okay? And, a lot of people, use the approach as the ladder. You want to climb the ladder of success, okay? But what happens when you reach the top of the ladder? Do you just kind of fall off and die? Do you stop learning and growing? Have you arrived? Is that it? I kind of encourage my clients to take an approach of the smartphone. So how many of y'all have smartphones in here? Okay, that's pretty much everybody. Okay, so one of the things I say is when you first get your smartphone and you open it and it's nice and shiny and you finally turn it on, most of us have the standard apps where you can't get rid of it. And I still can't determine how these phone companies decide that, everybody needs to have the weather app or the stock market app, but that's neither here or there. But as you start to get acquainted with your smartphone, you start downloading apps that align with your needs, your interests, your values, right? And when you start comparing your smartphone to the person next to you, you realize, yeah, you may have some of the same standard ones, but you have a lot of different apps too. And over time, you may start deleting some of those apps because you no longer need it, you no longer value it, you have no interest in it anymore. And you want to make space for new apps, depending on where you are in your life, in your career journey. And so that's the type of approach I encourage my clients to have. Be flexible, be fluid, be open. Because God forbid, when you take a look at the old approach, the ladder, if you decide to move down the ladder, what is that seen as? A demotion. Yeah, you have failed completely if you decide to take a lateral move. God forbid. Okay? But with a smartphone, you can move up, down, left, right, it doesn't matter. And I like to think about that approach as you taking the time to upskill, reskill, take a course, try out a new career, take an inventory of your key skills and strengths and see how that can parlay into a new type of job, maybe in the same industry or in a completely different industry, or take a sabbatical. That's new too. A lot of young people are taking 3 months off because they just want to hit the reset button. They can afford that, I suppose. They want to hit the reset button. They travel. They want to figure out, okay, what do I want to do next? For instance, my sister-in-law, when she graduated undergrad from UNC, she's been working from the time she graduated until 3 months ago. And essentially, she didn't have to make a car payment, a phone payment, nothing like that. So she's been stockpiling money where she could buy her first car because her previous job came with a company vehicle, company phone, laptop, lucky her. She didn't have to spend her money on anything like that. So she's been stockpiling her money. when she finally quit because she just had enough and she was getting really burnt out, she's like, I can't take it anymore. I don't know what I want to do next. And I encourage her to take some time to think about it. She can essentially take 2 years off to think about what she wants to do next. And I know a lot of people in here don't have that luxury, but more and more employers are encouraging folks to just, okay, so you have a gap in your employment history because you took some time off. And that's okay. That's actually encourageable. Okay? So again, think of your career using the approach of either a smartphone or what I like to call a lattice. So it's okay if you move left, right, up, and down. It's not an emotion. You are not a failure as a person. Okay? Alrighty. So some of these companies seem very familiar, right? They're called sharing economies. Again, they've been around for decades, and they came about, again, through the economic downturn when, we had the market crash and the housing crisis, all of that good stuff. But let's take a look at some of them and how they've really played a role in reshaping the workforce. So for instance, for transportation, never in my wildest dreams did I think that I could call a cab, and it's not really a cab, call a ride, to be correct, using an app on my phone to take me from point A to point B by a complete stranger. Did you think that would even be possible 5-10 years ago? No. And when you look at companies like Uber and Lyft, they're doing something pretty unique and clever. They don't own any cars like cab companies, traditional cab or taxi companies. No, they don't. Technically, they don't have any employees. Yeah. So essentially, this platform has existed to connect ride needers with ride givers for a fee. And you see there's a huge rise in these types of shared economies. And yes, they are really transforming the way people choose to do work and in turn how companies shift things around in terms of how they acquire talent. And they start moving into, okay, what components of our HR department do we now need to redesign to just kind of fit the needs, the growing demand of freelancers in the US. The other example I want us to take a look at is accommodation. Airbnb, for instance, traditionally they started out as what? Yeah, vacation, yeah. Offering unique accommodations that are more available and affordable for travelers, right? They have now expanded into, hey, we'll offer unique experiences via personal chef, maid service, personal tour guide experiences, okay? So it's no longer just accommodations, okay? And they're expanding. And this is all happening online through the shared economy. So that's just to give you examples of what is really happening around us. I mean, a lot of times when we're in it and we're so laser focused, we tend to not pay attention about it. Pay attention about what's really happening and what are the forces at play that are impacting us directly in terms of as a job seeker, as finding work, and the way we do work. Okay, so it's important to know about these examples. And by the way, Shake Shack, is anybody aware of the recent development with Shake Shack in terms of technology? Yeah, they've decided a couple of weeks ago that they're going away from all their cashiers and they're going to be replaced with kiosks. So you don't get to interact with a real person. Technology. Yeah, so again, you have to start thinking, okay, how is this going to impact me? And where do I fit in this marketplace, okay? So, Upwork, are you all familiar with Upwork? Yeah. Do you want to share with the rest of the group what Upwork is?
Well, I've only done bits and pieces of it. It's where, what I've seen of it is where people post and you go on and it's like a contract freelance type thing. I've also looked at Trios and Flex and all those other ones.
Yeah, online pretty much, okay? So Upwork partners with Freelancers Union, and every year, for the past 3 years, they conduct a comprehensive survey of the independent workforce, and they analyze the size of the growing freelance economy, and they provide insights into the lives of independent workers. So according to Freelance in America for this year, 2017, they say that the gig economy grew to 55 million Americans this year. That's making up 35% of the workforce. And they claim that they earned an estimate of, hold on to your seats, $1 trillion. Are you part of that? Are you part of that 1 trillion? Are you getting a piece of that pie? Some people are. I mean, so you can tell me, is this a fad? Is this going away anytime soon? And this is not new information. Gig economy has been around, okay? But it's just exploded in the last 10 years. And so you have to realize, okay, how is that impacting my job search efforts and the type of work that I want to do, okay? I'm just saying, here's the information, here's what's happening around you. Be informed consumers. Yeah.
Binta, do you feel like that this has exploded because you've got so many employers that do not want to take on the cost of benefits? So if they can actually pay you a higher amount per hour because they're not having the cost of outlaying of long-term benefits.
But if we see that, this number is going to double or protrude up in the next 10 years, employers are going to be forced to make sure that they have all the HR components. Like a regular W-2 employee, they are going to be required to provide these types of services to their freelancers at the end of the day. They can't get around it, So, good question. Good question. Alrighty, so good segue into your question. So what are the forces at play here beyond, the rise in the independent work, which is the gig economy, technology? How many of y'all actually work in the technology industry? Yeah, and you tell me, why are y'all sitting here when there's this huge rise in new technology? What's causing you to be sitting in this room right now? Huh? Younger workers, what else?
Not part of that new technology.
Yeah.
New electron.
It's actually, it's actually changing very rapidly.
Yeah. I mean, literally every week I spend hours just reading up on things that are happening in the workforce, and I blink and I'm like, oh my God, there's something new coming. I cannot keep track of it. But in order for you to be successful, you have to stay on top of it. You have to be plugged into, what's happening, the conversations, the discussions, as many pipelines of information, reputable information, credible information. It is your job to really stay on top of it and be plugged in to know what's exactly happening in your region, so that way you can position yourself for success. Nobody else is going to do that for you, okay? You have to be a lifetime learner, yeah.
When you try that AI and automation, artificial intelligence, like that, you're talking about, a lot of places that are jumping into that, they're going and jumping into deep pools. They have no experience with they're kind of pretending they're cool. AI and MLs, they call it machine language and machine learning. It's a brand new field that all I hear is from Austin is we're jumping into the pool, we don't know what we're going to get out of it. And most people that claim they really understand it, like he was talking about, it's changing. It's going to have to change because nobody's got that kind of experience.
But you know what I say? That's an incubator of opportunity.
But it's also all of this data collection and digitization that's actually occurring in the economy. So it's a collection of data, right? That these companies are running these large platforms to get out and figure out trends within industries and business and their business that actually ends up being a driver for.
Listen, if it can be done, it will be done. You have to decide, is it going to be done by you or to you at the end of the day? It's just that simple. Because we can complain about all of these rapid changes, but if you don't try to get ahead of it and position yourself well, I mean, you're going to be, it's almost like you're just going to be stuck at this point and you're like, why is everybody racing past me? It is what's happening around us, and there's no stopping it. You were going to say something?
Yeah, so it does require, to do big data and have those skills, right? It does require a lot of skill to do that. Algorithms and all kinds of stuff, but you're right. I mean, AI is a completely different
Platform, it's a platform that you would sell.
You gonna tell us how to get ahead of her?
Yeah,
She's
so,
trying to get there.
but that's okay. I'm more like, I love the conversational type of presentations because I will pace the floor, I'll walk up the aisles, I'll hand you the mic. I mean, we all learn from each other. I don't consider my expert. I am just an avid learner and reader, and I like to stay well informed for myself, but also for my clients, because I'm never going to tell my clients anything that I'm not going to take for myself as well. So it's so important. Knowledge is power, and you know what? You don't stop learning until you die. So, you had your hand up.
Trying to be quick, but two other sides to this. One is lots of companies are going away from full-time to avoid giving benefits.
But I suspect that's going to change. As the freelance economy grows, they're not going to have a choice.
I hope you're right. The other thing is, and this is what I don't know how to do as a contractor, is sites like Glassdoor or whatever, I think let me get a sense of where I'm going to get a better deal, where I have a better chance of negotiating better, and where people are getting screwed. And part of this is we're all atomized, and it's hard to know what's happening, harder to know what's happening here than before, I think.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get to that real quickly. Yeah, so of course we have technology. The rise in collaborative tools enables people to work from anywhere. Okay? For instance, as a young first-time mom, and before that, my job was very hectic. I was traveling all the time, and I was like, wait a minute, I need a couple of months. And I took some time off to figure out, what do I want to do next? I had multiple jobs on the table when I relocated to Austin about a year and a half ago. And this one appealed to me because I was able to negotiate for almost everything that I wanted. You have to go beyond the take-home pay. Go beyond salary. There's a long list of intangible things that you can negotiate with an employer, okay? A very long list. And for me, based on my values, working remotely and having that type of schedule was key, okay? So we talked about technology, the demographic shifts. People are living longer. You're taking better care of yourselves. That's good, But you have 5 different generations in the workforce, all motivated by different things. But across the board, all the generations want more flexibility. It's not just Generation X and Generation Y. It is key. It's the number one thing that Generation X and Generation Y want. But across all the generations, more people are asking for flexibility in the workplace. What are employers going to say? Okay? The saying, consumer is always king. Okay, it's a people's economy right now. So think about that. I think Tim O'Reilly said it best when he said, we have to stop thinking about people working for companies and start making companies work for people. And you can see that. That's pretty well reflected in the rise in the gig economy and how people are choosing the way they work and the types of work that they do, okay? So at the end of the day, the robots are not going to take over. I'm not afraid of that. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the new soft skills employers are now asking for is, believe it or not, empathy, emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence. Robots don't have that. They don't. That's a whole nother story, and I'm just going to stay in my lane.
Binta?
Yes.
I find that with the millennials, it's a lot of, they know all about this. But they don't know a
Digital
lot,
natives.
but they don't know a lot about this. And a lot of times the way I sell the club is saying, look, these are the grown-ups in the room. They have mortgages, they have kids in college. They're not going to leave because you don't have a kegerator in the break room.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, but in order for you to know how to sell yourself well, again, you have to stay informed and be plugged in. At the end of the day, jobs exist because companies have a problem, they have a need, and they need people like you to fill it. And so you need to be ahead of it. You need to figure out what is the need, where's the opportunity, what's the big boom, what's the new emergence, and how my skill set can fit into it. What problems are these new companies and these new economies are going to be facing, and how I can use that as an opportunity to plug myself in and be very relevant. Okay? That is how you have to think, like a business person. Okay? Not a job seeker. You are a brand. This is a brand. Every time I leave my house, I remind myself that this is my brand. And anytime I have an opportunity to interact with somebody, that's a possible opportunity for a venture, for a job. Okay? At the end of the day, people matter because every job boils down to a person or people, because people still control information, resources, opportunities, and yes, the robots. Okay? You gotta remind yourself of that. Okay? So, I want to talk to you about some companies that have taken note in these huge shifts in the workforce, and they're trying to get ahead of this. So LinkedIn, if you don't have an active, the keyword being active LinkedIn account, I strongly encourage you to create one and just start learning how to use that platform. I love it. I'm always on it. I don't have the Facebook app on my phone because I'm just not a Facebooker. But LinkedIn, every time I get this message like my phone is full, I have to delete apps or pictures. I have too many videos or pictures of my daughter. And I'm like, dang it, what app can I delete and then put it back on my phone? And every time I try to touch the LinkedIn button, it's like, no, because there's so much valuable information, I might miss something. I don't mess with LinkedIn. I am constantly on it. And that's the best way to reach me and communicate with me. So LinkedIn has expanded into the freelance matchmaking with their new tool called LinkedIn Profiler. If we had Wi-Fi, I would have clicked on the link so you could actually see what the website looks like. I strongly encourage you to just type in LinkedIn Profiler and you will see the platform. So it's specifically designed for freelancers, contract workers, long and short term, okay? And they match you with jobs. I think they currently have, I don't want to misquote Jeff Weiner, I think he said 6 million openings right now. Essentially, they, through this marketplace, consumers and businesses are connected with those professional services covering over 140 different areas. I don't know about the industries, but there are lots of opportunity on there. And they also have a link on there. So of course, you have to fill out an application online. It's very short because I went through the process. They provide you with tips as to how to position yourself as a freelancer in Profiler so you can get great leads. Okay, so they help you. So you need to take advantage of that. And by the way, LinkedIn's Week of Learning is coming up. It's October 24th to the 30th. And all their courses on LinkedIn are free for that week. So I encourage you to take advantage of it. If there are any list of courses you're like, man, I can't afford to do that at ACC or at UT or any of the community colleges in town, go on LinkedIn. Because remember, they acquired lynda.com. I'm always on there. I have a list of courses that I want to take. Yes?
You can get a library card to the Round Rock Library. All you could be is have a Texas address, and you can use lynda.com for free if you go through the Round Rock Library's website.
Good to know.
But don't you have to be arrested?
Of Texas.
of Texas,
That's the only requirement,
a
Texas.
resident. So if you've got your ID or license or whatever it is, and say
Yeah.
you've got
Yes.
Texas.
All
on
their
there,
courses are
you're
free,
golden.
100% free during that week. So it's October 24th through the 30th on LinkedIn.
I'm shocked.
Take advantage of it, okay?
I have one, and I live in South Austin.
And the second market platform is called Flex Jobs. Now, that's not new. They've been around since 2007, and it was actually founded by a job space pioneer called Susan Fell. And when she was looking for a flexible job when she started her family, I completely understand that. And essentially, they have trained professionals, and what they do is they scour the online job resources for professional and legitimate jobs before they post them on their site. There is a fee, and most of the jobs span over 50 different categories, so I'm pretty sure all of you in here could find something that aligns with your skill set and your interests. So over 50 different categories. There is a low-cost fee. It's either $15 per month if you want to try it out and see how it works for you, or it's $50 a year. That is not bad at all. They too are offering a free webinar on how to find legitimate professional jobs to make money on the side, and that is October 24th, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And the link for registration is going to be on their website as well. So lots of free professional training opportunities for you via LinkedIn as well as FlexJob. And the last platform I want to talk to you about is called Work. I am so excited about this. This was launched earlier this year by 2 women. So essentially what this is a marketplace of top jobs with pre-negotiated flexibility. It does have a low annual membership fee of $49, similar to FlexJobs. Essentially, although it was female focused, because a lot of moms tend to leave the workplace once they start a family, and that means you have to choose between your family or your career. And so that kind of circumvented that issue. Because they did the research and they noticed that although we have more female graduates, we have a very small percentage of female leaders in the marketplace. And so when they surveyed, they realized that women had to make the tough choice of, well, I became a mom and I needed to scale back on my hours. And so these 2 women were so clever and they're like, we need to do something about it. And I just created a profile, by the way. I am so stinking excited about this. It's for men as well. It's for everybody. Although it was female focused, it is for men as well. And it's focused on career building opportunities. So it's not necessarily contract work or short-term or part-time work. It's just focused. Their major focus is career building opportunities. Okay? And both FlexJobs and Work, they've been featured on CNN, USA Today, CNBC, and they have top companies that are using some of their workers like HBO. I mean, it's incredible. So I encourage you to go to their website and check it out as well. So another unique thing that they did is that they have designed their own framework called the Flexiverse. And yeah, it sounds kind of cheesy, but when you take a look at it, and I don't know if you can see that pretty well. So pretty much they came up with the Flexiverse where their members can filter their job search by 6 types of flexibility, focused on 3 factors: your physical location, the hours you want to work, and the utilization based on reoccurring or ad-hoc basis. And so you can see remote working. That's work from home in your jammies, which is very nice, and it's ideal for some people. Okay? And the next one they coined was the Desk Plus, where you work from home maybe 1 or 2 days out of the week. Okay? Again, it all depends on your values, your interests, and what you have going on in your life. And then there's the Travel Light. So if you no longer want to travel, be on the road, either on the ground or in the air, guess what? You can select that type of job that you're looking for, where there's minimal to no type of travel whatsoever. Okay? Again, people are redefining the type of work that they want to do. They're making the work work for them as opposed to the other way around, which is pretty awesome. There's a micro agility where you can come in late, leave early. this whole 9 to 5 where you gotta rush and be at the office, beat this Austin traffic and be at the office at 8 o'clock or 8:30, oh my goodness. I think I would go crazy if I had to do that. I would quit, honestly. I would quit. So your 40 hours can exist beyond the 9 to 5 hour, okay? And they get that. And other companies that are progressive, that are working with them, they get that too, okay? Because they don't want to miss out on top talent. And a lot of times top talent aren't necessarily in the market because of various reasons. And again, flexibility is the number one factor here. Of course, they have time shift. We talked about work not being happening between 9 to 5, and then part-time, full-time career. So it lets you scale back the number of hours, but you still consider to have a full-time job. Yes.
For all of these, this is with work or
Yes.
jobs?
Work.
Work.
Yeah, they create, and again, this company is like brand new. So I encourage you all to check that out too. And see who their partners are. Who are the employers they've been working with to hire top talent?
And this is part of saywork.com?
Yes, that's their website. You can just type in work or saywork.com. It'll take.
Flexiverse is there.
It's their thing. Yeah. They designed that. Yeah. Okay, so the numbers don't lie. So just to provide a clear picture of where the gig economy is now and where it may be headed, 85% of IT, all those IT people in the room and business execs, plan to increase the use of independent freelancers at their organizations by the next year. The next one is pretty interesting. Again, that's an incubator of opportunity for some of y'all in here. It says 53% of companies report weaknesses in handling gig economy resources. Gig economy is not going away. So guess what? There's an opportunity for you to get plugged in. What is the need? What are some of the issues that they're facing? You know, your strengths. How does that integrate with, problem solving? Some of the issues that they're facing right now. And then 51% of companies plan to increase freelance use in the next 3 to 5 years. So take this information for what it is, but it's happening around us, okay?
Quick question. Okay, 53, that's over, one question. 50, over half the companies have problems handling these temp resources or whatever that gentleman over there was pointing out. Who is causing the problem in handling these resources? If more than half of them are having a problem, what's blocking these companies?
That's a good question. My best guess is that companies didn't anticipate this huge surge in freelancers. And so people are coming at them, again, in my next slide, I talk about, so where do you fit in as a contract worker or freelancer if you decide to go that route? Again, I'm not advocating for one way or the other. But again, this is just good information for you to know so you can position yourself well. The Business Talent Group, in their on-demand IQ publication, they offer a short list of project types that might be a good fit for freelancers. And so one of the examples they provide is interim leadership. And I've seen a rise in that even in higher education for those executive level positions. If they cannot find somebody full-time or they can't afford it or things are happening so quickly that there's no time to recruit and hire, they will hire a leader. They will hire interim leadership for a time period. So maybe a year. What did you say?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
So, we see a lot of companies where they'll, hire a chief information security officer. And they'll hire that individual for however long it takes to get through and build.
Exactly. It's happening. Another project type is strategy and operational performance. So strategies for business units, new channels, new performance improvements, market landscape assessment. These types of project types, a lot of companies are looking to hire for project top talent for project types. There's also in the moment, short-term strategic moment scenarios, where things are moving so fast paced that companies, their current executives can't handle it, so they'll hire people for like a shorter period, So again, get plugged in and find out where these opportunities are, okay? Alrighty, so I'm gonna leave you with a couple of nuggets. It's like, okay, this is a lot of information to unpack. I felt the same way. I'm still processing all of this information that I've recently found out, and I'm like, what do I do with that information, and how do I help my clients, ultimately secure employment, whatever that may look like. It may be the traditional 9 to 5, or it may be a series of contract work projects, long and short term. So I recently read an interview in Deloitte Review with Tom Freeman. Some of y'all may be familiar with Tom Freeman, bestseller. The World is Flat, I think. Yeah. And the interviewer asked him towards the end of the interview, what advice has he given his two daughters that are Generation X from his research and writing in this age of acceleration. And some of the things that he said, I thought it was pretty spot on. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to try to rewrite this. I'm just going to tell you exactly what he said, okay? And so one of the first things he said is, always think like an immigrant. Okay, so what exactly does that mean? When you arrive in a new place, guess what? There's no spot reserved for you, okay? You don't have any legacy. So it is your job, it's imperative for you to survey the land and seek out and find opportunities and pursue it with so much energy, so much vigor, so much passion and curiosity, so you can stay ahead more than anybody else. Stay focused. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. I always tell my clients, don't be afraid to swim upstream, because if you swim in downstream with everybody else, the competition is going to be tight as hell, okay? So, the other thing he said is always think like an artisan. And I like that. He says bring your best in every way, as much empathy, as much uniqueness, as much value added possible to any project that you work on. So it cannot be digitized, it cannot be outsourced, and it cannot be automated. So at the end of the day, you can carve your initials into it and take full ownership for it, okay? That's the only way you're gonna stay alive and stay relevant. The other thing he said is, think like a business, okay? You're not a job seeker. This is your brand. Be business-minded, okay? Think about, okay, what opportunities, who can I partner with? What new ventures are there? What problems are happening around me that my skill set and maybe somebody I know, a former colleague, can really just kind of be trendsetters, fill the void, okay? So think about these things. He says always being beta, and I love this. And I think I've always applied that to my own career development, okay? He says, think of yourself as always needing to be retooled, re-engineered, retaught, relearned constantly. The moment you think of yourself as a finished product, you're done. You're done in this business. You're finished. And he's so right. Because things are moving at a rapid pace that, businesses are scrambling to keep up with what's new, okay? So you yourself, if you're going to position yourself successfully, you in turn have to have that similar mindset, okay? And I add a couple of things to it. I say network and maintain positive existing relationships, especially if you decide to do contract work. Because guess what? People always prefer to do business with people that they know and they trust as opposed to seeking out somebody new, okay? And at the end of the day, remember what I say, every job boils down to people, because people control information, resources, opportunities, and even the robots, okay? So remember that. And just be plugged into as many conversations as you can. Any kind of pipeline of information where it talks about the marketplace and the workforce and how things are changing, where we're coming from, why we're coming from there, and where we're headed, get plugged in. There's this thing called a Google, and one of the things he said is in his interview, he said, IQ is overrated. It really is. Nobody cares what information you know because information is readily available on Google. People are concerned about what can you do with that information that's readily available, okay? So you really have to be deliberate and strategic in how you approach your job search and your personal career, okay?